I'm about to have that start again. Lord Jesus.
Hey everybody, welcome to your 8th week. Congratulations, you made it this far. Just for this class, you can take out your journal and notes, and you can take out the whole deck to work with. Tatiana tells me that this is going to be an interactive class. Just a friendly reminder, if you need any assistance, email at assistant@tatianatarot.com. And also, Jesus, I'm sorry, forgive me, my brain. And also, please don't spam and be kind to each other. And if you have any questions, please wait for Q&A or post them in the Facebook. All right, Tati, you ready?
Yeah, let me, people are still coming in or having trouble, or maybe that's just on my end. Hold on. Load. Hello, can y'all see me? Ooh, Mercury has hit us and it's not even here. Hello, everybody. So good to see your beautiful faces. And for us to kumbaya on week 8, this is going to be an exciting week. We made it 2 months in, y'all. Can you believe it? 2 months officially. We're about to enter October. We started late July. And so here we are. And you look at y'all doing the thing. So let's get into it. All right. Let me share my screen. Hold on one second. Okay. Okay, let's get into this. All right. So welcome to week 3, week 8. Oh my Lord, I'm losing it too, y'all. Bear with me. I don't even know what day of the week it is, but September 16th, right? And so we had to kind of recalibrate ourselves because of the hurricane and switch the dates up. So we will be having the classes Wednesday and Thursday. All right, which would mean our last class is on September 30th. And I believe that is the last Thursday of the month. We will end it at the end of the month. So our next Q&A session will be Wednesday, September 22nd, same time, 6 p.m. Central, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and 4 p.m. Pacific Time. What we will be going over, how do I minimize this? What we will be going over is using your ancestors and your guides in your readings, okay? Intuitive divination with tarot. We will be going over 3 basic spreads and a tutorial on how to do those spreads, how to create your own spreads, and the essence of combining the cards and the elements together. We were able to do this in yesterday's Q&A a bit. So you can use yesterday's video, which is already posted, as a reference point to how I personally opened the reading, and how we all managed collectively to kind of interpret the cards as a solid unit. And that's a really good reference point for you guys in case you're stumped on ways to read the cards and interpret the cards. Using your ancestors and your guides with your reading. So essentially by this point, you guys have, from what I hear and what I witness and what I see in the Facebook group, you guys have developed a consistent relationship with your elevated ancestors and guides. You may not know all of them because trust me, there are plenty. And there's still more that are going to come out, and a lot more advancement in your psychic development with your mediumship skills and your divination skills. But you should have at least some fundamental understanding of what your main clair is, okay? And how you receive information, or your best modality in interpreting that information. Whether it's, I dream, I'm a dreamer, that's how I get my stuff, or I just feel, I just know, or they just talk to me, you know, whether you're clairaudient, clairvoyant, claircognizant, what have you. And if you're not quite clear on what your main modality is, don't worry, you have this as a lifetime access. Review week 1, week 2, and just hold space because you'll pull through for sure. Okay, so when we are reading tarot, we are divining, Okay, we're not just telling fortunes, we're not just, pulling and reading, we are divining, we are accessing our dead as in our elevated ancestors and our guides that provide the information for us that we seek. Unbeknownst to many readers, they don't realize that they're listening to maybe a higher self or a higher spirit, elevated spirit. Some readers go with angels, some readers go with other deities and entities and whatnot. But for the sake of this particular tarot divination course, I thought it was essential for you guys to learn how to not only divine in the way that you're talking to your ancestors and guides, but also develop that connection and communication with them that will also in tandem help you develop other mediumship abilities and your skills as a psychic overall. Okay, so we are essentially pulling from our own sources, or those of our clients or person we are reading for, the own sources, our own spirits, so that they can provide insight on what is going on. There is a bit of a distinct difference between people who memorize the cards and people, based off of the definition, and those that receive information from the dead, which can also be parallel to the information that you receive from your card via definition. But usually, it will have a little bit more insight that you just can't find online. All right, so your dead, your ancestors and you guys have a variety of ways of communicating with you. As we've reviewed, this is via thoughts, songs on the radio, words in a book, could be a message, dreams, literal visions or daydreams that you have, visualizations, using your imagination sometimes can give you insight on what is to come into your life. Bringing people in your life, spirits love to bring people into your life to give you a message, to convey meaning and synchronicity. Goosebumps and other physical sensations can be confirmation, affirmation in some sort. And by simply knowing, you can get information as well, et cetera, et cetera. As you pick on this particular divination modality, you will pick on the patterns and these patterns of clear gifts that you have, they will pick up and develop more quickly. So when we are using our ancestors and guides and readings, what I had you guys do is establish that first foundation with your elevated ancestors and you guys using that glass of water and the white candle separately. Because then what I was trying to teach you is to pull from your own resources rather than relying on the definitions I provided for you in each slide from week to week with the tarot cards. You had to, on some basic level, learn or be able to discern, okay, this is information I'm getting from the spirits while I'm sitting down this way, yada, yada, yada. I'm writing this down, whether or not you are a writer, whether or not you are a seer, et cetera, et cetera. And then I had you guys start pulling for yourself at least a card a day. If you were able to do that, great. If not, don't worry about it. But that separate exercise was to just help you get familiar with the archetypes of the cards, the energy of the cards in and of themselves, and be able to kind of marinate with that before you combine these two modalities together, right? So when you are about to engage in divination, you have to make sure, when you're engaging in divination and using your dead, you have to make sure that you clarify your intentions with the cards, okay? Especially to your ancestors and your guides, you will want them to know that you are learning tarot or sharpening your skills, okay? Or that you are looking to reach out to the elevated ancestors and guides that have experience with tarot and who can teach you how to fine tune and improve your skills. So before some people receive a new deck or before they jump into maybe reading themselves a little bit more intensely, a lot of individuals like to set their deck aside, and this is just a tip, to set a deck aside on their altar or next to that glass of water and that white candle, which is a simplistic altar in and of itself, and to begin to talk, at least advise to your ancestors as if you were talking to a friend. Hey, I am starting this, they by now they should probably know that you're in this tarot class, right? They probably know that. But you let them know, I'm using this deck as divination, and I'm learning this skill to build communication with you, to be able to build communication with my higher self and my spirit guides, to be able to read myself with ease. Please bless this deck in any way. Protect this deck from any negative energies. Picking up any negative energies, cleanse this deck. Or give me any tips that you guys have. Unbeknownst to us, we have a lot of ancestors that have practiced some form of divination, whether it's scrying in water or using herbal divination, or cards, playing cards, tarot cards, oracle cards, reading the sky, crystal gazing, what have you. Even those ancestors that may have not used tarot can absolutely supply you with some wisdom, tips, and knowledge to implement into your deck, And so what you want to do is start inviting those elevated ancestors that have that, knowledge in divination or foresight, or were exceptional with intuition, or maybe were spiritualists in their lineage. And let them know that you're starting off on this journey. And, of course, you want to learn as much as you can to share them tips, and then see what happens, see if they reach out to you via dreams. If you get an instinct right then and there to do something that correlates with your question or your demand, I would move forward with it, as, you're moving forward with the sign. But when you do that, when you set your deck at your altar, there is no really time limit for this, because I know people get very heady. How long do I need to leave it there? How do I leave it there? Like, what do I do when I leave it there? It's just be, just be, and just use the intention to just let them know you're dropping this deck off. You're sitting it at the altar. For some, that's a resting place for their deck. Some people like to put their deck in a room, in a box, or cover it with fabric. Some people just like to leave it at their ancestral altar, and what have you. The choice is yours, depending on what you're feeling and how you're resonating with that information. But you can go ahead and let them know what you're about to do. And afterwards, to officially start any readings, particularly when you're working the dead, I would absolutely start with a form of libation. And we went over this in the fundamentals of tarot, I believe, week 1, different types of libations and libation salutes and libation prayers. But a libation is a form of an offering that cements an exchange. So what is essentially going on is, you're either gonna sprinkle some water on the ground, sprinkle some coffee, give them some rum, or maybe it's an offering of coins, what have you. For me, I keep it simple. I sprinkle water, and I say a particular prayer in my tradition. And what that is almost like it's paying homage. It's recognizing the elevated forces that are there to guide you, to give you clarity. It's acknowledging the moment, you as a diviner, you as the seeker, perhaps, or the person that is offering the reading to a client. And it's creating sacred space in and of itself. And so that really helps set the tone in bringing in those elevated forces, and also kind of giving them a pay for their respect and their time that they're about to share with you, and giving you this information that's going to come through in the tarot reading. All right. And so I listed a little bit of a way you can go about doing this. Again, we can revisit week 1 and the slides in there that have a little bit more in-depth breakdown to what the prayer is that I use, which could be used by anybody. But if you're choosing to use cool water, and this could just be a water bottle that you have, a glass of water you have nearby, or something that you purchased from the store, just pour a little bit out, and it can come from your heart. Just pour a little bit out. I honor the elevated ancestors in my maternal and paternal lineage. I ask the water to cool my home. I ask the water to cool my spirit guides. I ask the water to cool myself, to cool my higher self, to provide me clarity, wisdom, and to bless my path in this practice. Please come through with clarity. Please come through with accuracy and give me all the information I need to know that will elevate me and help me to evolve or help my client to evolve. You know, like I said, other offerings could be liquor, tobacco, smoke, coffee, what have you. So I think actually I spoke a little bit about this before engaging the dead. You want them to be familiar with the deck. You want them to know, okay, this is the particular deck that I'm using to divine, because not every deck that you have, you're gonna want to use that deck to divine for yourself with your ancestors and guides, and you're gonna want it to read other people. Like for myself, for example, the Dust to Onyx deck, I hardly ever use that. I don't think I've ever used that to read other people. I have it for myself and my ancestral shrine. It is a deck that my ancestors particularly just want me to use around them and around them only. Is that deck is the Hoodoo deck. That's the same way as well. But I also have them bless up the common decks that I use with clients. My regular writer weight decks and whatnot. There may be a particular deck that they are partial to, that they gravitate to, that they resonate with the most. So don't be afraid to acquire an abundance of decks. You know, I think as you're moving along in this journey, you're gonna want to buy every new thing that's out there, and that's completely normal. You know, that's completely fine. But inevitably there will be at least like one or two key decks that you will use the most, and that's the one that you want to focus on in giving to your ancestors, so that they can give you that extra boost through that deck, right? And so give them the deck to help them familiarize themselves with it, and so that they can pass on some good tips for you to how to make it more aligned with your unique vibration and your needs. Okay. When choosing a deck, like I mentioned, some of your dead are going to be partial to certain decks. That is because they essentially choose the deck. You consciously think you're choosing the deck, but it's really the impulse that is coming from your guides and your ancestors that are telling you, go ahead and do this, or that intuitive inclination to pick something up. Then later you find out it's really something that your ancestors wanted, right? It is not uncommon for you to start with a deck and then suddenly lose interest in it. Okay. Or like I said, to use a deck explicitly for like ancestral divination, communication, reading others, or whatever. You know, everything is going to fit its own tone and need over time as you build up. So just bear that in mind. Intuitive divination with tarot. So it's important to note that this is a committed practice, okay? Practicing your intuition has to be something that is consistent, even if it's as small as like 2 minutes a day, 3 minutes a day, 5 minutes a day. You have to be consistent with it, because it's essentially like you are building your muscles. Hold on, guys. Give me 1 second. Okay. So using your intuition is like building your muscles. So if you're consistent over time, not only will this sharpen your abilities, but you will be taught tricks with tarot, okay? And possibly other divination forms that your spirits want you to learn. Like, for example, I believe there was somebody on the Q&A a couple of weeks ago that mentioned something about dice, and that their ancestors liked dice, or their ancestors was helping them with tarot, but they happen to use dice a lot. And, you know, that could be one big indication that they should also implement dice as a divinatory practice. Dice is very, very popular in the African American community. in the hoodoo tradition as a form of divination. Okay, and so that could be something that their dead is trying to show them, or has access to a little bit later on. But it is easy to get discouraged once you're starting off, especially if you're doing the most and you're expecting to kind of grasp this all at once. You guys are kind of pioneers because no one's really teaching this form of reading tarot, where it's in conjunction with building up your relationship with your dead and also learning to be a medium and using that to read your cards. I don't know anybody who's ever done it. Usually these type of things are done, are learned with a godparent of a tradition, or some sort of obscure mentor that you get over time, or it's passed generationally through people's families over time as well. So I say that to say that it could be a lot of information at once. To take your time, as long as you're consistent. And like I said, 3 to 5 minutes a day. If that is ample time for them to acknowledge that you're making an effort, and for them to also put 50% behind you as well. Okay. Now, I would suggest when you're doing intuitive divination, I would suggest that you break the ice with tarot divination, your spirits, by reviewing the whole deck with them one by one. And what I mean by that is, at some point, maybe you can dedicate a week to it. If you haven't already done this in the prior weeks, you sit and you just whip out your major arcana, and with that glass of water and that white candle, and you go over each major arcana and you ask them, like, what do you guys see in this? Or you specifically talk to those ancestors. Like I said, call out those ancestors, even if you don't know who they are. You can call out to those ancestors that excelled in divination, or were spiritualists, or, you know, have an inclination to divination, and they were good at it. And as you're reviewing each card, just write whatever comes to mind. This is one of my favorite ways of practicing on developing tarot. I don't actually read any books. I don't like tarot books. They're very boring to me for some reason. And I feel like they just don't have the juice, and my dead do. And so every time I sit down with them, I feel like I learned something new about tarot that, you know, after 20 plus years of reading, you know, I just haven't encountered before. So this is like a never ending Pandora's box, Rubik's Cube combinations. Like, you can never know too much tarot. There's always a new lens and an interpretation for you to pick up on, a new way to shuffle, a new way to divine. Maybe you're reading left to right. Next time you're going to read right to left. Maybe you're just doing reversals one time, right? Maybe you're doing spells with your cards, or you're in a tradition now and you're seeing the cards as different entities and spirits, like what have you. It's like the sky's the limit, right? But you can start slowly by just, you know, doing that activity one by one by one by one. And it doesn't have to be the card of the day. It could just be like, I'm literally giving myself a tarot class with my ancestors and my dead, and I'm going to hear what they have to say about it. And maybe you will see some parallels in how you connect to the cards, or maybe it will bring up memories, or maybe they will show you maybe a memory on how they connect with the cards, if that makes sense for you. And as you're doing that, as you're compiling all of these interpretations, you can essentially create your own personal dictionary of definitions and reference points for the cards. So a lot of you guys know me from social media, Tatiana Tarot, and basically what blew up my account, I don't know how long I've been online, like over almost a decade now, I think. What really, I guess, popularized the page were the daily tarot meditations I did since I was like 25 years old. And I would just post the daily meditation of the day. That activity came from this practice of just sitting down with the dead and pulling a card and just being like, what do you have to tell me? What is it? You know, what do I need to know? And just writing it down and just hearing what they have to say. but I made that a little bit more universally approachable and not so personal. And I just made it a daily meditation. What does everybody need to know, right? And so over time, if I look at the index of posts I've done in about 10-year span, I have, you know, there's only 78 cards in the deck. I have like a freaking encyclopedia of tarot definitions, right? And that's the same thing that's going to happen to you guys if you are diligent and consistent with your practice. Over time, you're going to be able to just acknowledge the energy that is coming from the card instead of trying to define it. Just be like, this feels like this feels like this. And day by day, the same card can mean something different, you know, contingent on how your spirits and your guides, you know, see the card or want you to see the card, or what you're going through in your own life. You can use the back of your tarot journal that I provided for you guys in the course to fill in your own definitions as well. There's a little section there that have many boxes for you to just kind of write your own ideas, and just have that as like a mini dictionary to go when you guys are on the run. Does that make sense for you guys? Because I feel like I was rambling a lot. Let me know in the chat room. Perfect. Okay, perfect. Okay. Oh, bye, Crystal. Crystal done left us. All right. Yes, indeed. So inevitably, some of you have already gotten this, right? Some of you guys are already picking up on this yourselves. But inevitably, once you start practicing and once you sustain that gateway of communication with them, your spirits are going to prescribe you recipes. It could be oil recipes. It could be spiritual bath recipes. It could be workings, which are spells, or even rituals you could do at home. Maybe they tell you to pray in your car before you go to work. Maybe they tell you to put a dose of a cinnamon in your coffee for extra money and love, or, you know, something. It could be something minute as that, and tips to help you hone in your skills as a diviner, or just help your everyday life. So that is not uncommon. You guys will all eventually get to that point where, you know, that's basically seeing what spiritual practitioners do is channeling this information and being able to give this effective prescription that they've received from their spirits to their clients. But in this case, it is going to be for yourself. And so over time, if you don't already, you will grow sensitive to when the spirits have that information that they want to reveal to you. The only thing, there is no way how to do it. There is no how to do it. You just do it. The only thing I would say is stop getting in your own way by over rationalizing or expecting something to happen at a particular time frame. Just show up. Like you show up to school, just show up and let the spirit guides and the ancestors be your teacher, and listen to what they have to say. If you don't receive something one day, that's fine. Just continue to practice. They will chatter and get your attention in their own way. So let it come naturally. Don't be neurotic about it. Too much anticipation will drive it away, because then you're building up anxiety, and that's not making you easeful and relaxed and in a mode of receptivity to the spirit world. So to begin linking both of your intuitive skills in tarot, you gotta be aware of your senses and your energy fields, okay? Because now that we've practiced how to chat with the dead, we've practiced, you know, we've learned about our clairs, we've learned about the tarot, you have like various portals coming at you with information at all times. So you reviewing the material from week 1 and week 2 will help boost your memory tremendously, and provide you with a good foundation to start with, such as the grounding meditation, okay, the cleansing methods, exercising like automatic writing, and acknowledging all the clairs. Because what's going to happen is while you're doing your spreads, you may hear something, or you may see something, or you may just know something, or you may just, you know, think of something. And so you're going to have to find a way to put it together. And so in order for you to be able to be a skillful diviner, you have to be keen on what information is coming in at what time and what it's trying to tell you, right? Practice makes perfect. So practicing your clairs, so you sharpen the way you listen and receive. So I don't think we actually went over how to actually practice the clairs besides the automatic writing component. But a good way to exercise is to dedicate a full day to each of the clairs, or a full week. There are about 8 clairs, right? So maybe one day or 1 week you will dedicate to clairvoyancy. And your intention for that day or that week will be to just focus on how you receive information by being clairvoyant or through your clairvoyant abilities. That may mean that you're just consciously observing the moments when you are daydreaming, or actively putting yourself in meditation, or using an activity such as creative visualization. That can also be clairvoyancy, or you're tracking your dreams. That day or that week, you're just going to focus on that clair, okay? And you're going to note any experiences you catch on when you're focusing to that sense, or if that sense just suddenly pops out without you focusing and brings you information, you're going to acknowledge that too. The best way to track these patterns is by setting up a chart on your iPhone, like your iPhone notes, because I know a lot of us are on the go. And so it's like, we can't just always whip out a pen and paper or type on a computer, especially when we're in transit or at work. You just take a note. Oh, this just popped into my mind. My friend's face just popped into my mind, or this memory just popped into my mind. I'm going to write that down later in my journal for my day of clairvoyancy. How many times I've had clairvoyant moments throughout my day, right? And so when you start compiling that information where you can like literally see as notes in front of you, it kind of triggers an alarm to your brain that this is what we're going to be focusing on, or hey, you know, this is another sense that is being activated and developed. So we're going to give her more information. We're going to give them more information to come through this sense now that it's awake, right? You can also track it on a Google Doc file, which I adore. I have a lot of files from Akashic record readings I've given myself, or just things that are psychic, to intuitive connections or coincidences and stuff over time, deja vu, all that stuff, or in various Google Doc files. And it is quite a treat to look back in time, even if it's a month or two later, and read what you were going through or what you picked up, and how it resonates and correlates with you a little bit later on in the future. All right, so it's almost very scientific. It's the scientific method, I guess, trial and error, experimentation, documentation, but it definitely works. So I explained all of this to you, but say you want to do a little bit more than just observing that particular clair. And I use the clairvoyancy as an example. Say you want to actively activate clairvoyancy. I would suggest that you do a grounding exercise for 3 to 5 minutes first. Envision that white light. This is all in week 1, right? Having that light pull downward into your body, into the center of the earth, then bounce back up around the heart chakra, expanding 15-20 feet until you keep on expanding outward, outside your house, outside your block, outside your neighborhood, outside your state, your city, the United States, outside of the world, right? Until you can't see that light expand anymore, right? And then you center that energy of yourself, and you ask your higher self to show you any information you need to see or know at that time in your life through clairvoyancy. Okay. Or you can ask any particular question. Like if you have a specific question, just let them know, okay, I have this question in mind. It's about moving, but I need you to give this to me in the form of my clairvoyance abilities, whether it's a movie or a dream or something. So that way you're programming yourself to give yourself information. You're already sending the message and you're actively practicing it. And you could set a timer for 10 minutes, 5 minutes to let go, be open to receiving any images, daydreams that you have. If you notice that your mind begins to wander throughout the day, or somebody randomly pops in your mind, or if you form any daydreams, you're going to want to write it down. And of course, taking note of your dreams at night the next day is still part of the activity. You can even pull a card of the day and just focus on that particular clair, you know, with that card. And again, write your discoveries down. So connecting the cards together, which we will do a little bit later on, but I wanted to explain this to you guys. Connecting the cards together, the aim is to tell a seamless story that makes sense, all right? The best way to do this is to start with a reasonably small layout that won't overwhelm you with too many cards. So what I see most commonly is people pulling out like 7 or 8 cards, then they're confused. I can't read this. I don't even know where to start reading this. This is too much. Or at first it did make sense. Now it don't make sense at all. And so I always tell beginners to try to start with a 3-card pull or even a 2-card pull. We did a couple of those yesterday. And move on from there if you get the hang of it. Multiple cards aren't always necessary, especially if you're asking any specific questions, because if you are, your answer could very much come from that very first card that you pulled if you just focus. And if it's not still clear, then pull another card. And then pull another card until you get your answer, right? I don't advise using obscure intentions and pulling an abundance of cards for the obscure intentions. So like something like, oh, tell me what I need to know today, right? Tell me what I need to know today. What do I need to know today? And then 8 cards are pulled. And it's like a variety of health and love and career, and like you don't know where and what direction is going in. You're pulling 8 million things. And a lot of readers do read that way. I particularly read that way, but I've had so many years of experience of reading that I now know, you know, how to formulate a story or different avenues of that story to connect to. So don't overwhelm yourself. You have ample time to develop and grow. But I would start from a 3-card pull and then slowly work your way up from there when you're ready. Now, 2, tapping into your clairs. So when you're connecting the cards together, say you have a 3-card pull and you just don't know how to tie a story together, you're going to want to look at the image of the first card and pull any emotions or feelings or instincts from it, right? Particularly if you find yourself to be a linear reader where you're reading left to right, or from start to finish, so to speak. It's what is this card making you feel? Like, what do you feel? Instead of trying to think like immediately, maybe it's giving you a memory of the past, or you feeling like there's news on the way, or is the card like describing a person or characteristic? You know, is the energy of the card hot or cold? Like, does it feel volatile? Does it feel like there's urgency and intensity, or maybe like, oh, you know, there may be something, you know, quite jolting coming around the corner, or is it feeling like cool, passive, relaxed, not so intense? Go with the gut, try to interpret the energy, and then move on from there. Another way is to look at the direction of the illustration and the characters and the symbols in the illustration. So if you notice your deck of cards, you will notice that some of the characters either face left, they face right, or they face forward. I don't think that's a coincidence. Depending on how they all lay out, these directions can tell you a lot about, you know, yourself or your client or the situation, where it's headed or where it's stuck, you know, or what energy is being focused in the past, what energy is being propelled into the future, what energy is just anchored and grounded. That will give you a good indication on how to read the cards as well. Number 4, looking for similarities and patterns. So we kind of went over this briefly before while we were interpreting all of the tarot and all the weeks. But you want to notice if there is a predominant number that is popping up. Like if you guys have a lot of 4s in the spread, or maybe a lack thereof, if there is no major arcana, if there is no suit, if there's no cups, or there's no swords, right? That is telling you something that can be very helpful for the collective reading. You can also go back and use the reference notes that you put together. There was a little compilation of what it means when there are 2 or 3 or more aces in the spread, or when aces are missing, or, you know, when there are 8 10s in the spread. And all of that stuff is kind of written in the slides and in the notes prior. So you can go back and just revisit that as you are doing your own spreads for more insight. So yeah, like if 2 cards are kind of coming up with a similar background, like a light blue background, it could be that those 2 cards are talking directly to each other, and it's a particular energy you need to pay attention to. So number 5 is paying attention to anything that jumps out at you. So when you have your spread, excuse me. So when you have your spread, whether it's 3 or 5 cards, you don't always have to read it in a linear fashion. I believe some of you guys already exhibited an experience or the ability to be able to look at a group of, I don't know, 5, 10 cards and be able to tell which cards are connecting to each other, which cards tell one cohesive story, and which cards start another story. That is not uncommon. So you don't have to always read in a linear fashion. If there's a particular card or a group of cards that call your attention as soon as you lay it out, you might want to start from there and work your way from back to front, or just kind of put all the pieces together without rushing yourself. And like I said, not all cards in a layout may pertain to the same story or question. For example, if somebody comes with a love reading, or they want to know, you know, is there love in my future or whatever, and you pull out 7 cards, right? And 4 of the cards kind of look like they feel like they all, you know, you understand where it's going. You understand where it's going. It makes sense. And all of a sudden the energy just abruptly stops and shifts. And those last 3 cards are just very different, and they just make no sense to the first 4 cards. Then that could be, you know, an indication that those next 3 cards are starting a new story, or they're starting a new chapter, or they're giving you a different perspective. So maybe, let's say, hypothetically speaking, for example, the first 4 cards were from the perspective of the person wanting a relationship. And it could be like, oh yes, somebody is coming. This is how it's happening. You've gone through this, and we can tell in the next 3 months somebody's coming. But then those next three cards that don't make sense could be talking about a past relationship that's still relevant to the question that this client has to clear out in order to make those first four cards work or come into fruition. So those last three cards, and it's a little tricky here because I don't have the visual for you, but we could do this in the Q&A and you'll see it in the next couple of slides. Those last three cards could just be, you know, something completely antithesis of what the four cards are saying, first four cards are saying, and then you will have to be able to discern in some shape or form, hey, this has nothing to do with them telling you that this person is coming. This is actually talking about a different person altogether. And I'm picking up that maybe it's an old relationship from the past that it's toxic and you're still hanging on to, and that spirit wants you to release in order for you to bring in the love that you really want. Does that make sense for you guys? Lisa said, this just happened to me yesterday. I almost asked about it in Q&A. This makes a lot of sense. Good. Good, good, good. I'm glad. I'm glad. In many ways, you guys have been kind of doing this and just taking initiative in doing this with your ancestors as is, but this is just a recap, essentially. Okay. So, basic spreads to use. These are the three spreads that I am going to show you guys. We have the Celtic Cross, which is very popular. And I used to not be a fan of the Celtic Cross. I don't know why. I'm not a big fan of spreads. It's just not how I learned to read. I just threw cards, and when Spirit told me to stop, they tell me to stop, and that's just how I read it. But spreads are extremely useful. They're extremely clear. They're excellent for all levels. And they're quick and they're efficient, right? Celtic Cross is one of those spreads that grew on me over time. It is a quintessential go-to spread for anything that is going on in your life or anything that you want to know, because it gives you the meat and potatoes of that situation inside and out. The pyramid spread is one I picked up from an old reader I used to go to in upstate New York since I was a teen. And every time I'd sit down, she'd have this Egyptian deck and she'd do this pyramid spread. And the stuff would always happen. And it was a very basic spread. She explained it to me, what she was doing. But actually, she would start off with the Celtic Cross and then she would finish with the pyramid spread. And that would be like 45 minutes done or an hour. And so I love this pyramid spread. It gives you an overall look of what's to come, where you're at, where you're going, what's to come, what you need to know. And it's just fun. It's in a fun shape. The Ancestral Crossroads spread is one I invented for the use of my official tarot journal with Altar Planning Company that I released, I believe last year. I don't even know what year it is anymore. Last year. And this is a very useful tool to get more insight from your ancestors on an overall level. Okay, so now we're gonna break these down and go into them. So the Celtic Cross looks like this. I don't know the logistics on who made it. And I misspelled Celtic, excuse me. Who made it, why it was invented, but it's one of those classic spreads that you will see in every book and every YouTube video, okay? And so where we wanna direct ourselves is number one, that underlying card there in the center. And that card is representing the first dot, where your current energy lies on a personal scale. Where does your energy lie right now? You know, not just like, where's my energy in the world? Like, what's going on energetically inside of you, right? What's going on in your life, okay? The second card lying over it is gonna be what energy you are about to encounter. So this is energy entering your life in a matter of a week or so, maybe even less. Some people say 3 days, some people say a week. Other times it's just energy that's kind of on top of number one, that is permeating around, that's already kind of in your life, but hasn't quite hit yet, right? Number 3 would be the subconscious position, your subconscious mind, what you are oblivious to, you're not aware of, maybe some thoughts that you're not aware of, some programming that you're not aware of, or this energy that resides inside of you that wants to come out consciously, but it's just lying there, right? And it's still affecting you, but you're not quite tapping into it, right? Number 4 would be this is not number 4. So I will need to correct this and provide you with the correct slide. But number 4 over here would be your past and its lesson. Okay. Your past and its lesson. What past energy you came out of, and what did it teach you? What did you learn? Sometimes number 1 is showing you, or you're still dealing with the energy of number 4. And this is the aftermath of you coming out of number 4. And you're still integrating the lesson, right? Boom. Number 5 is where your mind is at. Excuse me. So switch these two up. Number 5 is where your mind is at consciously, what you're focusing on, what you need to be aware of at this present time. Number 6 is what is coming up in the future. 3 months. What's coming up in the future for you? 3 months ahead, general frame. For some reason, I don't even know if this is how the traditional spread is reading in terms of time, what's coming up. I just personally always tell people, like 3 is the number that pops up. 3 months is always the number that pops up for that position. For you, it could be 2 months, 6 months, what have you. You can change it. But that's generally a little bit further into the future. So 3 months spread at 3 month time and above is what's recommended. Number 7 is how you are handling this energy. How are you handling what's going on right now? How are you handling the past? You know, how you're consciously thinking, how you're not consciously thinking, this energy that's still affecting you, that still lies latent within you. And where your mind frame's at, you know, what's your belief system? How are you seeing the world right now? How do you need to approach? And usually how you're seeing the world and how your energy is and how you're handling it is going to tell you how you need to approach it. Right? Number 8 is anyone or anything around you that may be influencing this energy or situation. So this is outside influences. Okay, but that's very broad. I don't even know what that means. There's anyone or anything that may be influencing the situation. You could get a person like, oh, I didn't realize that person's maybe energy is influencing me, or maybe I need to talk to that person, or I'm gonna meet this person, or, you know, you can pull out another card for clarity for these positions, or any of the positions if you're not clear on them. You pull another card for clarity and get more insight on that. Number 9, hopes and fears about the energy or situation. Hopes and fears. So this is telling me, where are you invested? Are you invested in fear-based mentality or optimism or being realistic? You know, this is going to tell you maybe some of the anxieties or lack thereof that you have. Even if it's a positive card, that could still be somewhat of a fear, like hopes and fears, or, you know, So this can be usually a tricky one to interpret, but it will give you good insight on, you know, whether or not you need to rest more, settle your mind, or what's freaking you out. And you can get more insight from that by pulling another card as well. And number 10 is the overall outcome. Mind you, tarot is not set in stone. Any little decision and shift can change the cards, can change the outcome. And this is, we're looking at 6 months into the future and more with number 10. Okay. Does that make sense for you guys? Okay, let me go into the chat real quick. Amber says, do you shuffle and pull this out in order? What if they start flying out? I would not use the jumper method with this unless you're consciously focusing on each card as you shuffle. So some people just start off by shuffling and laying it all down, one card after the other. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 after that one shuffle. I don't like that, because we're dealing with different questions, different energies. And so each question, I feel personally, yeah, you guys don't have to go this way, but each question for me needs a reshuffle, because now we're asking a different energy, right? What I pulled for number 1, which is where's my current energy, I can't, for me, it doesn't make sense to pull from the same deck to have like the past come up if I'm talking about the present in that shuffle, right? So it takes a while for me to do some of these spreads, because I will just sit and like, number 1, where's my current energy? Shuffle, 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 boom, got my card, whether I pulled it or it falls out, you know, and then boom, number 2, shuffle, shuffle, shuffle. What is the energy I'm about to encounter? Doom, doom, doom. No, it's not necessarily why some people use different decks. I feel like that's overcomplicating it. It's just a personal choice. There is no right or wrong way. Like the reader I went to that used this spread, she would shuffle once, do a prayer, and then she would just pull them all out at once. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, da, 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 da. For me personally, it works that I shuffle in between each question. For each question, I shuffle for each question and I lay out the card. If something jumps for that question, I make sure that it's only 1 card. If more than 1 cards jump for that question, I reshuffle, because I'm not trying to make this complicated. Because then a 10-card spread can turn into a 30-card spread, and we don't need all of that, right? Unless you guys are down for that sort of exploration and interpretation, really there is no right or wrong way to read tarot. I'm just trying to give you something that is efficient and simplistic to use without over stimulating the mind. So what we see here is a pull, a random pull of the Celtic cross. So starting with first position, where does my current energy lie? And this is just like a random pull. What can you say about the first position with the 3 of Cups? Natalie said celebratory. Say that this is an example client, and this example client sitting down, they just said, I just want to know what's going on in my life. There's no specific question, right? In their life right now, with the 3 of Cups, you guys are saying sisterhood, celebration, happiness, feeling like life is good with your social life right now. Okay. Feminine energy, emotional connection. Okay, boom. You lay out card number 2, which is the 6 of Swords. Okay. Which I want to bring something up real quick. Somebody mentioned this in the Q&A yesterday, that they had a bunch of jumper cards falling out sideways and they did not know how to interpret that card, whether it was an upright or a reversal. I see what they mean now that we went up through it. If you pull a card like this, clearly you're not going to know whether it's an upright or a reversal because it's sideways. You yourself are going to have to make a decision before you pull what the orientation is going to be. right? So if the 6, the numerology number 6 is facing right, you can make that a reversal, or you can make that upright. If it's facing over here, you know, vice versa, whatever. If it's facing over here, I usually consider that an upright. If it's facing over here, I already made the decision to make this a reversal. What I will tell people is to consider both interpretations, right? And not see it as a positive and negative, just read the energy that you're getting from it. So just wanted to let you guys know, okay? So with this card being placed on top of the 3 of Cups, we're combining 2 cards together now. We seemingly have a happy situation in the present, but we know that this energy is coming within the week or so. Wow, that's, you don't want mommy to speak. Wow, that's rude. Okay, so we see this energy coming through. How would you guys interpret that? Let me know in the chat room. Whatever they're celebrating is soon gonna end? Really? I think one of those close friendships is coming to an end, or a fallout with one of those ladies. Really? Discontent on the horizon, really? Moving away from someone. Sorrow. Moving forward together. Shift your thoughts about vulnerability and teamwork. I think the connection is an avenue coming towards some of sorrow or bad times, maybe bad. Why do you guys interpret as the 6 of Swords as something bad? That is an interesting interpretation. I actually don't see it as bad at all. Sis is moving on and taking the good memories with her, moving on to clear water, spiritually guided from this situation. Okay, boom, Diana, that's an excellent interpretation as well. Friendship is helping them overcome a hardship or something. Maybe this person, again, we don't know their background, they didn't come with a question, and all of these could be correct, absolutely. I'm just trying to get you guys to see things a little bit more on an energetic lens. So if we're thinking about the 3 of Cups in terms of energy, we see what? Celebration, joy, rejoicing. We see sisterhood or friendship, right? We see maybe partying. We see indulgence and pleasure. 3 is teamwork, community, the future, right? And then we're getting the 6 of Wands. So we see somebody who doesn't look like they came from good times. Looks like they've gone through some rough patches, maybe even emotional, because they're surrounded by water. And then we've got the swords in front of them, meaning they are either not seeing clearly, thinking clearly, or they have a very hard mindset on themselves. Or they've been through a very rough mental period in their life, which it looks like they're moving away from. Depending on if you're reading that as a reversal or not, or you're just letting it be. So this sector could be, okay, you've got a supportive community, you have great friends, or we can't even assume that these are friends. It could be family members, could be friends, could be colleagues, just supportive kindred spirits around you, even in the spirit realm, that are uplifting you at this time and getting through this hard, difficult situation that you're in. You're gonna get out of it, but you need to rely on trying to relax and have fun. And just look at that, the positive side of life, and cut yourself some break, right? So many ways we can see it. Now, looking at the subconscious, we're getting the Empress, and subconscious energy is that which this person is not so much aware of, or is either hiding, it's lingering, and it's affecting their lives, but they're not so much aware of it. So how would you interpret the Empress? Ongoing maternal influence, absolutely could be. Maybe the hard time is dealing with them being a mother, or their mother, or other female presences, or coming into their own, or their feminine energy, or lack of nurturing, right? Seeking nurturing. Maybe they're pregnant and they don't know. That could also be a situation. right? We can't always assume that, but it could absolutely be, you can absolutely tell the person, hey, I gotta let you know what I see. It's not maybe the case, but it could also be there's some fertility, whether it's physical birth or, literal. There's something that you need to birth that you're not cognizant of, or you're having a rough time that seems to want to come out, right? The subconscious goes upward. Feeling it rather than controlling it. That's great fortifying energy, right? 3 3s in this red. Excellent observation. It's a lot of moving forward in the life, right? Now we're looking at the past, the 10 of Pentacles. So now that we see the past, it could throw us off of what's coming up. What is this hardship, or this bump in the road, or this is more emotional than anything actually happening in the life. So could be that they're actually having a good life and there was just maybe too much pressure, or something that's happening here. It's giving a lot of pressure. The 10 of Pentacles, it's not easy to get to the 10 of Pentacles, is it? But this can also convey ancestry. It can convey family, securing the family, cutting of apron strings. What does that mean? Legacy, big time stability financially, finally. It could have also came out of seeing their family. Hence, the present position is joy, reunion, celebration. See, there are many ways to layer the cards and to see things, right? And this is when your spirits and guides will kick in, because then they will direct your energy to a particular thing. Your gut is telling you maybe it's maybe it's some money. They just said we're successful with something. Maybe they just came from the family. Right? Moving on to the conscious position, where their mind is at. What they're focusing on, or lack thereof. And we get a reverse. Page of Pentacles in reverse. On the current situation. So we see things energetically in the present is happening pretty well, but how they're thinking or what they're focusing on seems to be lack. Things are going well, they're focusing on lack, or they're worried. So now we're putting this together. Maybe it's worried about finances, because the Empress is about luxury and very, very high position major arcana card. 2 major arcana cards here. Scared to start a new financial venture, unwilling to plan or invest. That absolutely worry about family. Maybe they're worried about somebody young in the family, right? Because pages are youth. Maybe it's a brother, maybe it's another sibling, or something. Who knows? Could be worried about money, could be worried about launching something. So in their celebration, moving away from family money, they're not focused on their financial stability and hard work to create it, as putting the show on the show of having made it. So future position, 3 months, King of Wands. Where do we see this person headed? What are you feeling from the King of Wands? In action, in leadership position. Seems like they get their shit together, right? It seems like the support that they have here is helping them travel to this journey, so that maybe can embody more courage and confidence. Maybe this is a reminder, the ancestors or their past or whatever security they have, they just need to look back and remind themselves of the successes or where they came from or what they have around them. Because even look, when I said look at the positioning of the characters, King of Wands is looking at these cards. So it's in direct correlation to the King of Wands. Because the Empress is here. She knows who she is. She's not looking anywhere. But this is kind of cut off because this is in the subconscious. So this person has the potential, and it's probably not actualized yet. They're thinking small, or they think small of themselves, or they're worried about something that's kind of futile. It's a trivial thing to worry about, whatever this is, whether it's finances, whether it's, maybe it could be family, and it's never trivial to worry about family, but it looks like really things are secure, and this anxiety could be coming out of something that's not necessarily something that you need to be anxious about, right? So when we go here, the belief systems, the action that they need to take or embody. The Three of Wands. Bear in mind also, wanting to go back here, this could be a person. Let's not forget, this is why we start with 3 cards, because it's like, what? We start with 3 cards, we start with the cards and working with our dead so that they give us more direction. So the Three of Wands, somebody said, follow passion. What else? They need to believe that the seeds that they are planted are going to bring back success. That's excellent too. Planning before venturing out. Set some goals and make some plans to achieve them. Turning their back on people and focus. Committing to the vision. Do you guys make any connections between the King of Wands and the Three of Wands? They have the same clothes. Looks to be the same person. Could very much well be. That's an interesting observation, Kiyomi. If they embody the characteristics of the King of Wands and move diligently in planning their future, they can absolutely establish the Four of Wands, which is stability, strong foundation, success, rewards. You made it, a happy, stable home. There is a lot of red in the spread. There may be some people who disagree with their decisions, but they must rely on their ability to strategize and stay on course, possibly early phase in the journey, develop the skills to be a leader and achieve the goals. Yes, I'm glad it's helping you guys. Right? And there's almost a halo on this person that you see, and a halo before them. Moving on to the reversed negative orientation of Strength card. This is the surrounding energy, outside influences, people, places, things that are influencing this person. So now that we see this, giving into lower vibrations, what makes you think that, Brooke? Where you get that interpretation from? Being reactive. Lack of courage and resilience. Someone's doubting them. It looks like others are doubting them. That is interesting. I'm learning a lot from your interpretations. Being afraid of their own power. Excellent. No grace under pressure. Testing their patience or advantage of their compassionate nature. running from conflict, needing a social media cleanse, step away from influence. That's assuming that this person has social media. Connects to the reverse page of Pentacles as interesting. So maybe where they're focusing on something in their external environment that is not going well. So maybe that is telling you a direct correlation on why their focus seems to be reversed. Because we've got what? We've got strength in and of itself kind of comes with challenges. They need grace to overcome the challenges right side up. But reverse could be a lack of grace. Maybe they're not handling this too well, whatever's going on. Or it could be that, you know, this is the disposition that they need to have. This is the focus that they need to have, the belief system, the actions that they need to take. They seem to need to encounter any issues that are going on, which will solve pretty quickly. You know, we're having an inverse strength. Sometimes it means the challenges that we once had are coming to an end. Now, fears or hopes about the future is here, the position number 9, 2 of Wands. We got a lot of wands in here. What does that tell you here with the hopes and fears position? 2 of Wands. They're afraid of moving out of their comfort zone. They're wondering if going forth from a stable home base is worth it. Taking a step back from the 3 of Wands with fears that they need to hold back and perhaps learn more. Spirits suggesting they have what they need. They're not trusting themselves. That's a good interpretation. It's all happening, but nervous to see what's next, right? And what is the hope? Because there's also hope in there. Look at the globe that this character is holding on to. Maybe there is some anxiety here about the future, but yet there's still some excitement. Like when somebody's about to get married, there's usually some sort of nervous jitters. So we're about to make a major commitment. It's an exciting thing, but there's still some nervousness, for some people, nervousness underneath. For me, for some reason, this card is telling me a lot about perhaps the person relying too much on the past or doing things in a way that they need to step out of. This in the orientation of this character looking out, which it seems like they're looking out on the horizon, but at the same time, it could be like the hand is out, but they're looking at where they're at, back at the castle. So maybe the focus isn't, as we can tell, the focus is reversed and not focusing on forward momentum. There is some stagnation there. Maybe focusing too much on the problems and not realizing that the problems are about to resolve fairly quickly. And they're dwelling on something that is maybe out of their control, but is about to be rectified in a moment. Looking forward and excited, but afraid to step out because of the previous external circumstances. And now we have the outcome, which is seemingly some sort of a curveball. So with the 8 of Swords, perhaps maybe this person feels helpless. And so this mentality can easily be stuck unless they heed to their community, friendships, the support they have around them, unless they heed to this card, which is fear the fear and do it anyway. Make sure you're strategized and planned. You will have to confront challenges straight on. You can't run from them. You can't just close things off. And if you do, this card can possibly change. But right now it's looking like they don't see that they're so close to the castle, right? Amber's like, this is a random pull, Amber. But if it's resonating with y'all, could absolutely be succumbing to old habits and thought patterns, which boom, hopes and fears. Looking in the past, staying in your comfort zone, not going out, not moving forward like this guy, like it's advised. Self-sabotage. Maybe they need a cleansing. Maybe they need to rest. Maybe they need to stop thinking so much. And this particular card advises that you can help yourself, but there needs to be some sort of replenishment here. We've got dry lands. And if you notice, there's this one sword here that they can walk to. Their feet are not bounded. But if they are already in the position of walking to it, they have to continue leading themselves by faith to be able to liberate themselves and get to that castle. Does that make sense for you guys? There's so many ways to read this. That's just one. Moving on to the pyramid spread. Pyramid spread consists of 4 cards, boom, 3 cards, boom, 2 cards, boom, and 1 card here. Start from the bottom, go to the top. That's how it's traditionally read, from left to right. Base 1, so I labeled this as base 1, base 2, base 3, base 4. Base 1, which is the bottom, this whole series of cards pertains to the past. It could be a collection of energies, people, situations, emotions, and actions of the past. This is a little bit of an intermediate spread because it's not so straightforward, like this is what this means, this is what that means. You're now needing to pile the stories together, but knowing that all this pertains to the past. Second base, which is the middle, kind of, it's the present, what's going on right now, okay? Third, which is somewhat of the top, is the future. What to expect, where is this energy going in 3 to 6 months. And the very top card is the single card, and this is the wisdom of the higher self. What does your Ori or your higher self want you to be aware of to best navigate yourself in this situation of your current circumstance? Case 2, random spread. Let me pull the chat room back up. So using this as a base for the past, what do you guys pick up on this? Now we have the Page of Pentacles right side up, I see. 2 of Cups, 5 of Swords, Page of Pentacles, 2 of Pentacles. What do you feel about this automatically? Love, leaving love, potential love and options. Absolutely could be a choice. New relationship ended up in shambles. You found a new hobby or job and now you have to juggle that in the relationship. Could be. Community was broken, starting over. Partnership that helped promise move forward in a healthy way. Selfish partnership or surrounding money. Choosing their path to cause separation. Collaboration or partnership left you feeling abandoned. You found something you're interested in. Now you're not sure how to move forward or after that loss or shake up. All excellent interpretations. Moving on to the present. Oh, wait, we've got more. Past connections created distrust and thinking folks are to get at you, needing to find the balance in investing again. This reminds me of when Maya went to school and shit went to hell with Darnell. Yes, so moving on to the present. Ace of Wands, Six of Wands, Knight of Wands. Now we got all those fire cards again. Present seems to be much more active, much more activity. Ooh, we didn't have that action in the past. We have it now. So, okay, we're really, okay. What if this person doesn't have a relationship? Maybe, what if it's not a romantic relationship? There's more passion and present in the purpose in the present. Ace of Wands brings opportunities, brings a unexpected energy. Six of Wands brings victory and success, fame, accolades, recognition. Knight of Wands is speed and urgency. It could also be another person entering this person's life. Or maybe they're going out to achieve something that is radical for them with this opportunity that was given. Kiyomi likes math, I see. There's 8 in total. More confident and passionate about making good decisions. Absolutely, all of these are absolutely valid. Now, in the future, we've got the Magician and we've got the 10 of Wands. What can we say about, the 10 of Swords? Knight of Wands does look like something is crashing. Something is, they're headed towards each other. We don't know if it's good or bad yet, but we can probably assume from this whole orientation that it will be a pleasant encounter if it is a person or just a pleasant energy entering their lives in general. This person is stepping into a calling, but this venture has a life cycle, power to change and old self and transition. Right, something is coming to a screeching halt and it's going to take everything that they have to step out of it. Using the power of manifestation, releasing ego, you're going to develop a certain mastery that gives you a new level of discernment and agency as you move, leaving old mindset behind and adopting a mastery mindset. I want to see if you guys can note something between these two cards. What's popping up as a pattern? The robe, right? It almost looks like a new person is emerging and an old person has died. It almost looks like the same person. It's almost like they had to kill an aspect of themselves or an old way of doing things and living, is what you guys mentioned. Perhaps to emerge as this new person or to reclaim their power in some way. It's giving Simba and Mufasa. All right. We've got a 10 and we've got a 1. The 10 and 0 break down to 1, and the 1 and the 1 break down to 2. So what does that tell you? Tanisha says rebirth. Chandra says karmic completion. Completed cycle, right? Now, how would you guys interpret if these cards were switched? If the 10 of Swords was here and the Magician was here? Now everybody's stumped. The medicine for the Ten of Swords is to tap back into your inner knowing. Feel a death occurred to allow a new manifestation to occur. Feel like they could be reading the same way depending on the energy. I agree. I see that as honoring a little death to move into one's highest purpose. Same, it would be an ego death and surrendering, give way to the magician, ending of cycles like phoenixes. Moving upward to the higher self, what would the higher self advise this person to do? It's giving Yoda. It's giving Luke Skywalker. All of these movies. Retreat and look inward. It's safe to move away. You've learned all that you need to hear, given and received all you can hear. Leave what they know. Contemplation, self-reliance, trust yourself. Always choose yourself and know that what is best for you, non-attachment. Enjoy the fire, but know when to step away. That's great. Opportunity to start a new path. Make the journey that is calling to them. Make the journey that is calling to them. Honor the waxing moon to release. That's interesting. That's really great. Lens to look at too. The moon phases in the cards. What do they have to walk away from? We see them walking away from this collection of cards. Could you give them a clue on what they may need to walk away from? What would you do if you didn't know what they have to walk away from? Okay. So a lot of you guys are saying the past, right? What is the cost of the Six of Wands that wasn't learned from the Five of Swords? Boom. We're going back here. We know something here was triggered for them to walk away from. We see this upward momentum. We see reclamation of self, perhaps a rebirth. We see them walking away. What clues us into what they're walking away from? The higher self knows, this person already knows they need to walk away. Whether they're walking away or starting anew or going on a spiritual journey, or maybe they're retreating. But this is retreating with power. We're getting that hurt. Maybe the magician is developing a new level, a new set, a new upgrade to their skills, where materialism is no longer needed, or searching for a deeper aspect of self and sorts, or deciding to abandon this narrative here we have in the past once and for all. Perhaps this is a cycle. As we can tell from the Ten of Swords, it could have been something cyclical that is finally ended. Lauryn Hill and Lost Ones. Absolutely. Oh Lord, ain't it? This is a reading we're gonna have to send to Lauren. walk away and make sure you make it to the stage on time, baby girl. Or knowing Lauren, she's walking away into the abyss. She don't care about no stage. It's bye. Leaving it on to a new project. Maybe we will see Lauren in the movie theaters or something. I don't know. Maybe Lauren on Broadway. Who knows? But excellent job, you guys. Excellent, excellent job. As you can see, the beauty and the frustrations of tarot in each spread, because there are just numerous stories you can infer from this. This could be a relationship. It could be a partnership. It could be an aspect of self, a betrayal of self. It could be so many things, right? Of course, it's easier for the client to come in. Well, with it could be easier for the client to come in with a particular question or a theme. But generally speaking, the pyramid spread is just used as is. Usually people don't, if you just want to see what's going on in general, you whip out this spread. It can actually be used like, let me see the situation of a relationship, let me see the trajectory of my career, whatever. Absolutely. But I feel like it's more fun and hearty and it absolutely gives you food for thought when you use it like this, when there is no question, right? It really gets your brain in motion. Ancestral crossroads spread. I would use this spread when you're doing your white candle glass of water practice. This is how Brooklyn I am. Lord have mercy. I even misspelled your to your attention. Take me home now. Lord have mercy. But number one is the overall energy your ancestors want to bring to your attention. Direct messages from them. Okay, this is your ancestor card. This is a card that's speaking to you right now. This is the overall energy. It's the wake up card, right? This card, number two, what is the status of my life's foundation? Am I anchored? Am I stable? What's my overall stability right now? Now, this card could talk about your finances, could talk about your relationships, could talk about your health, your mindset, what have you. But we can just use this as an overall, what is the status of my overall life's foundation? And this would be where the ancestors speak. All right, so this is giving you a clue. And this is what the ancestors have to say about that, okay? So this is a very hearty spread on the placement of your life and what they have to say in each placement. Number three, what do they have to say? What is their advice? Number four, what is the state of my emotions at this time? What do my ancestors have to say, or what is their medicine? How I can cope with the state of my emotions at this time. With number five, what is their medicine? What do they have to say about number four, the state of my emotions? Number six, what is the state of my motivation, my passion, my willpower? How determined am I? Am I moving forward? Am I not moving forward? Where am I energetically in terms of how I see myself and what I want and all of that jazz? And what do my ancestors have to say about this medicine? Number eight, what do my ancestors have to say? What is the status of my mental health? Thoughts. And like, how am I perceiving things right now? Am I thinking clearly? Do I need a head wash? Like, what's going on? 9, what are my direct messages? What direct messages do my ancestors have to say about number 8? Okay. Everybody's scared to use this spread. Yes, your ancestors will drag you. Okay. Of course, when you're using the spread, please fall upon your elevated ancestors. Okay. And here we go with another case 3 scenario. Case 3 scenario. So what is my overall energy at this time? What can you infer from the 8 of Pentacles? What is the overall energy that your ancestors want to bring to your attention? Any direct messages from your ancestors will come right here as well. Work, 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 hard work and hustling. Put in work, hard work, focus. Handling your business, mastery, absolutely. All of those. Being diligent with work, building, studying, improving, elevating, perfecting, focus, determination. The ancestors like that you guys are putting in the work in this course. The ancestors like that you guys are talking to them, right? Number 2. All right. What is the status of my life's foundation and stability at this time? What is the status of my life's foundation? So now we see the same card again. Kind of pulling up completely unrelated random pull, but we're starting to see something. Let's see. Let's name our client. Give me a name, people, for this client. This is the 8 of Cups. Status of the life foundation. This person's walking away from things. Maybe they don't want to focus on it anymore, right? Walking away from nothing, focus. Maybe it's a move, it's a transition, it's a spiritual journey. Discernment is strong. Now, this is what the ancestors have to say about the life's foundation right now. What does the 5 of Wands have? What are they saying through the 5 of Wands? For me, I could see this as many ancestors trying to reach through to talk, right? This could be an indicative factor that they're moving on their journey. Maybe there's disconnection there with the ancestors, or there's no reliance, or they haven't given their burdens over to their ancestors. Maybe the ancestors are saying, okay, as you move forward, there could be conflict, there could be clash, there could be disagreements, maybe there's competition. Maybe there is discord with this person moving forward in their life foundation or doing a separate route, and people don't agree to that. Maybe there's mental overload on what they need to do next, right? Chaotic energy, different guidance from different sources, competing opinions on the movement of the foundations. Trying to get attention, person turning a blind eye. And they're like, you're not listening. Releasing the fight. Maybe the ancestors is saying, okay, it's been too much. You've been doing too much, or it's been too much that you've had to deal with. You gotta go. When I pulled this immediately, I thought maybe it would be clash of agreements between ancestors. Sometimes one ancestor says one thing and another ancestor says a different thing. It's not so simple. We cannot always rely on spirituality to give us answers. Sometimes you just have to use common sense and go with the decision that you're just going to make. This could be a classic example of someone getting too many readings and not listening to their head, not going in the path that their higher self is telling them to go on. Clash of the Ancestors. Watch that be a movie in Nigeria. Yoruban tales. Moving on. What is the state of my emotions at this time? This would be the world card is being covered. The state of my emotions right now. Vanessa, could absolutely be about you clashing with your ancestors, not listening to what they're saying. Absolutely. What does the world card have to say about the state of this person's emotions? Hello, sweetheart. Mommy's almost done. What would you like? A cycle is ending. Revelation. A little self-involved. They feel full. They feel complete. They are too open. Yes, it could be that they are too open. It could be also, oh yeah, they're taking too much external energy. Coming to a greater sense of understanding could be that as well. Now, the 10 of Swords would be the advice and the medicine from the ancestors. Ten of Swords. How do we see that? Could be that a cycle is ending. That they need, it may not be easy. They may not be listening, but they're doing it. Something important is ending for them this cycle. Again, another cyclical spread. There seems to be a rebirth pattern here. Maybe we can all take something from these spreads. Cut some cords, do a cleanse, be lighter, surrender and let it go before it kills you. You've outgrown it. The world in and of itself can very much be a 10 of Swords card because something new is beginning and something is ending. And then if we're talking about the 10 of Swords coming directly from the ancestors, there could be a death, a spiritual death, a spiritual awakening. This could be one particular ancestor that needs elevation that can help with this emotional situation or is influencing the emotional situation. Perhaps this could be advice as well as whatever emotional predicament this person's going through. They need to go to the ancestors and see how the ancestors ended things in their life when they were living. Maybe there's an ancestor that went through the same situation that could give this person advice. Number 6, what is the state of my motivation, passion, and willpower at this time? That would be the Wheel of Fortune card. So this person, again, another cycle, seems to be entering a cycle of luck, of serendipity. So all of this seems to be in alignment, whatever hard work, effort, or studies, or maybe they're working towards leading something. Submitting to destiny and flow. Maybe there are some things here, unpredictable, that are going to happen. And what do we see from the ancestors, what they have to say? What do they have to say about the Tower? It could be that there's some things that are unexpected, some things that are really going to rock the boat for this client. but they still are in divine alignment. Maybe this person has to really burn things down and deal with the repercussions of who agrees with them and doesn't. And in the process of that, emotionally, they feel free, letting some things die. Maybe that's a little turbulent. Could be a career, could be a relationship, it could be an identity that they have, a habit, a belief system, a dynamic. And last, what is the status of this person's mental health? 10 of Wands, pretty obvious. I mean, that seems like a lot from what we see. It seems like a lot. So the 10 of Wands, excuse me, doing too much, burdened. What else? Overworked, needs a break, needs to delegate. Doing it alone. And able to see all the past all the work and preoccupations, trying to keep it together without any support. Giving Erica Badu bag lady vibes, okay? Shout out to my students with their musical inclinations. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, the mental health is just bogged down. They need to surrender. And then we have this Lover's card here from the ancestors. So what do you think the ancestral medicine is for this state of being bogged down emotionally, excuse me, mentally? You need partnership. You need someone to help. Make time for pleasure. Great. Make time for pleasure. Make time. Seek out community. Lending your support system to help you, using different energies within ourselves. Absolutely. Self-care. I feel like they're meeting their higher self. Boom. Maybe it's not so much doing and it's just leading with intuition. Learning to love yourself as well, pleasure yourself, and within partnerships, being yourself. Yes. I see this also as laying your burdens down to the ancestors. There's very loving, caring, nurturing ancestors that want to take this burden. Seeing self or others from a higher perspective or a divine perspective. I shaded that. I shaded that. So we saw 3 different spreads. We interpreted 3 different spreads. You can see how it all ties in together. No, I'm missing a whole section. So let's go back. And the section is not here because it probably got erased. Lord help me. But I wanted to talk about how you guys can create your own spreads now. It's very important seeing these examples, and this will be quick before we end, that now you have these examples as a footing to establishing your own spreads. And I would advise that you guys make your own spreads. You can use these as examples, of course. And what's important when you're starting to make a spread is that it has a theme, that it has a purpose. Even the Celtic cross spread, which is kind of nuanced and has an abundance of things, the sole purpose is to derive information on a question or the overall energy, right? You can, once you pick your theme, you want to think about common questions that are asked. What do I need to know in this moment? What's blocking me? What's coming up for me in the next week or month with this situation? What do I not know that needs to come to my awareness, right? And of course, you can use some of these questions for an example. And there are some more empowering questions, such as the ancestral crossroads spread, where we have what is the ancestors' medicine? So we have the situation, but then we have an empowering question like, what is the solution? What direction should I be headed with this situation? What do my ancestors have to advise me about this? If I make this decision, then where would it lead me? Okay. You can spend some time writing these questions out. I would make a couple of different spreads, right? They're pretty easy and straightforward to make. And then once you've got your questions laid out, you can come up with a layout or a design. So, you know, I was quite literally thinking about the crossroad intersection of our lives, how we're in the center, how we've got the mind, the emotions, the motivation, the stability. So it's like earth, water, fire, air, and the medicine to all of those elements and how it ties into what's going on overall. Excessive work, right? Excessive work, or needing to study, needing to focus maybe not on a trillion things, but one particular thing, right? And so once you have your layout, usually your layout could be anything that you want. There's no right or wrong way. People like pyramids, people like crosses. If you're doing a relationship spread, you might want to do a layout in the heart. You might want to do a layout in the formation of a letter, like a letter A, letter B, or whatever, you know, or inverted V, or an upverted V. It doesn't matter. Usually the layout corresponds to what kind of theme and spread you are trying to develop. Okay. So homework for this week would be connect the tarot with your dead. Instead of just doing the water and the water in the glass, the white candle, excuse me, you're now going to be talking to them with the tarot. You're going to be pulling for yourself when you talk to them. Maybe you have one particular ancestor that seems to come up, but you don't know their name. You don't know their information. So you might want to pull a card or two to learn more about them. You could use the ancestral crossroads spread this week to get more information from your ancestors as your guide. Practice creating stories by linking the cards together in a specific spread or a layout, like we just did with the pyramid spread, or the free fall spread, where you just keep on laying out cards with no particular rhyme or reason, if you want to do that. And create your own tarot spread, because then this moving forward, your own particular unique tarot spread will give you what you need to know for your practice. So you can use this ancestral crossroads spread, but I do absolutely encourage you guys to create your own ancestral spread. The spreads for everything. The spreads for days of the week. What's the energy of my business? The energy of my femininity. How do I become a boss bitch? The spreads for everything. You know, relationship spreads, family spreads, money spreads. So you guys can absolutely do research. There's tons of books on spreads as well. And yeah, where are we at here? Where are we at? This is going to be fun, Amber says. Okay, great. So thank you guys so much. Week 8. Love to hear it. Love to hear it, Miss Perez. I love that the money oil is working for you. Yes, so we're getting down to the nitty gritty. We have about 1 more week to go and some other practice sessions. And so study up. You guys are doing exceptionally well. I was just talking to a friend about the course and she's so happy that you guys are doing so well and love it, love it, love it. So I will see you guys next Wednesday and practice, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.